Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Tima podcast. It is time to talk Liverpool, the best club in Europe, the best club in the Premier League. There is so much to discuss, and there are two kind of big topics I want to focus on. The first topic is what is the media's problem with Liverpool? And the second thing we'll talk about is the PSG game and the brilliance of Arne Slot. Two very interesting topics. So the first topic I'm kind of very eager to discuss because I've had enough of this ridiculous narrative that Liverpool are lucky. I've heard this so many times from rival fans, from so-called pundits and experts and YouTubers. This whole narrative that apparently Liverpool got lucky. We're only winning it because Man City, Arsenal dropped off. It's not a very competitive season. We didn't have many injuries. Arsenal had injuries. City lost Rodri. And I'm like, hold on a second. First of all, so us not having many injuries is now supposed to be a way to take away essentially the beauty of our title. So the fact that our rivals did not make the right recruitments, did not make the right signings, they had vulnerabilities in their team, they got injuries and then they got exposed. That is now somehow our issue. I mean, that's their issue, right? Surely when your rivals mess up and they make mistakes and they drop points, whereas you do the right thing and you win the league with a very strong points tally, we are going brilliantly. Our form is phenomenal and we will most likely win the league by more than 90 points, at least but with 85 points, which is a very respectable points tally. So I don't understand what are people on about saying that we just got lucky and others dropped off. Others dropped off, but we were brilliant. We did what we had to do. And for 1 second, right? Let's go back to the summer. It's so easy now for rival fans to sit here and say Liverpool got lucky. It was always meant to be like this. Arne Slot inherits a brilliant Liverpool side, so there's nothing surprising. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. Okay, one sec. Let's go back to the summer when people were saying Arne who, when people were predicting us to be like outside the Champions League. I heard so many fans and people on YouTube saying Liverpool might be third, fourth, fifth, sixth. All sorts of projections were made about where we will be. Fans were doubting us, questioning us. People were questioning Arne Slot, whether he had the credibility to be a Liverpool manager. Then obviously we had the start of the season and it was brilliant. We won like 5 games in a row. We had a scintillating start to the season. And then people were like, oh yeah, these are easy games. And there was the stat that we only play teams in the bottom 14. And then you're like, yeah, we're playing the easy teams. We haven't been tested yet. Then we started playing the big games, right? We started beating, and by the way, we already beat AC Milan away in our first away game of the Champions League. Everyone forgot about that very quickly. But then we started really making statements. We beat Bayer Leverkusen 4-0 at home, destroyed them. Bayern never losing. The Invincibles team was smashed apart in the second half. Luis Diaz hat-trick. We then beat Aston Villa. We beat Man City 2-0, the reigning champions of the Premier League. We beat Real Madrid, the reigning European champions. So we really kind of made a point of who we are. We went out there, won all of our Champions League games, 7 out of 7. We then went out there, went top of the league. We started building a gap more and more. Our rivals were falling behind more and more. We beat Chelsea. We really made a statement, is what I'm saying. We really made a statement of who we are. We were progressing further in the League Cup. And gradually this whole narrative that Liverpool were playing the easy games fell apart. So rival fans had to kind of admit that, okay, fair enough, Liverpool are good. But then you start to get excuses that it's actually only because City dropped off. It's only because Arsenal dropped off. Yeah, Arsenal had injuries. If Arsenal didn't have injuries, where would they be? Even Mikel Arteta saying that, Arsenal have done phenomenal for given their position where they are, given their injuries and red cards. Hold on a second. The red cards, completely your fault, right? Arsenal have had 5 red cards this season. There was one of them which was unfair, fair enough. The Miles Lewis Skelly card against Wolves was unfair. It was rescinded. It had no impact on them at all. As I said, it was rescinded and they still won the game 1-0. Doesn't matter. The other 4 red cards, so the Saliba red card was like so simple, straightforward. He brought down Ivan Nilsson. I don't get why there was even a debate. It was a clear denial of goal scoring opportunity. Then we can talk about the more recent Miles Lewis Kelly red card against West Ham. Again, not much debate there. It was quite clear. Raya was backpedaling. The player was through on goal. Lewis Kelly brings him down. It is a red card. And then the two red cards for Trossard and Rice. Well, look, they did sort of kick the ball away. That is the rules. I know it's very unfortunate how Arsenal got harshly done by it. And I agree, always, whenever the rules are inconsistently applied, it makes you feel cheated. And I sympathize with that. I feel sorry for that. Obviously, Liverpool, we know how terrible referees were with us last season, how we had these major VAR incidents which no one seemed to listen to last year. But this year, when it's happening to Arsenal, suddenly everyone's talking about it. But anyways, but at the same time, the rules are the rules, right? In both cases, Rice and Odegaard, the player did sort of delay the restart, kick the ball away. So, I mean, by the rules, it is a red card. And ultimately, Arsenal dropped off not because of just injuries, right? We were already like 7 points ahead before they had this whole attacking injury crisis. So you can't just say it's because of injuries. If it was just because of injuries, why were Arsenal not top of the league? Why were they not top of the league by like a big distance and then they dropped off? Because if they were indeed brilliant, phenomenal with Saka, sure, be like 5 points clear and then drop off. But you weren't. We already were ahead of Arsenal, and then their injury crisis got worse. And now the gap is 13 points. The gap's grown. It's obviously increased. It was like 7, 6, 5, 9. Now it's 13. Even with the game in hand in consideration, let's say it's 10. The gap has widened, I get, because of the injuries. Arsenal obviously really in a difficult position. Having most of the attack gone is not easy. But that's not been the case all the season. So let's not rewrite history as if Arsenal have literally had no one the entire season. This isn't even the worst injury crisis I've seen. I mean, Liverpool, for instance, in the 2021 season, we had essentially our entire defense wiped out. Last season, we had like League Cup final. We're playing with kids on the pitch. We had no one available. Most of our senior team was absent. But for some reason, when we tried to use the excuse that we had injuries last season, people say we bottled it. Hang on a second. So when we had injuries, oh, Liverpool are bottlers, oh, this and that. But then when Arsenal get injuries, oh, it's unfortunate, so unlucky. Lucky Liverpool, lucky Liverpool. Double standards to me, double standards. I don't understand that narrative. And now people have resorted to the lucky Liverpool. It's just lucky that City dropped off. If City was how they were, City would have destroyed you. Yeah, wait a second. We beat City home and away 2-0. Right. First things first. We're doing brilliantly in the Premier League, Champions League and League Cup. We could be winning a treble. You cannot make the case that City were going to eclipse us this season because the gap is immense. I'm sorry, we cannot make the case that it's just Rodri. Rodri cannot explain the gigantic gap between Man City and Liverpool. And by the way, the gap is 20 points. 20 points. Yes, we played one more game, but 17 points. That is enormous. You cannot write that down to the injury of a few certain players like Rodri or John Stones. City fundamentally had their own issues that caused their own downfall, and that's their problem. We, on the other hand, spent literally nothing. Nothing. We spent £30 million in the summer. We spent nothing in the winter before. We spent nothing this winter. And yet here we are, top of the league. We're doing brilliantly in the Champions League. We're doing brilliantly in the League Cup. We basically kind of left the FA Cup, to be fair. We played our B team and got beat. Fair play. Plymouth, well done. Fair play to you. I'm not going to deny that. But to be fair, it's pretty ridiculous to think that we were ever going to win a quadruple. There's a reason why it's never happened. We don't have the squad depth for it. So I'm actually quite satisfied we got knocked out of the FA Cup. We don't need more games. On the contrary, I'd rather play less games. And I'm not being arrogant. It's just that we Liverpool fans know that chasing a quadruple is a recipe for disaster. So you can't make the case that Liverpool got lucky this season. We've had some injuries. We've had Trent out. We had Alisson out. And by the way, look at how good Alisson is against that PSG performance. We had Alisson missing for quite a lot of the season. Jota was injured. Kanate was injured. Gomez is now injured. Bradley was a bit injured. So we had injuries. It's not like we had zero injuries. And the fact that we have less injuries is our own credit. Why don't just people say, well done to Liverpool, you're a brilliant club who managed to make no signings, bring in a new manager who has come in through the door. From the first match onwards, he's been brilliant. Literally, from the first match against Ipswich up until now, Arne Slot has been nothing but a genius. He's transformed the team completely. In terms of the playing style, the adaptability, the way we're able to transition from defensive to attacking phase of play, the overall play, the passing, the control of the game, just overall how we play football, the defensive abilities, how we control games. We have evolved into a mature, brilliant and phenomenal Liverpool side. And we have really taken a step up from last season, a season where we were inconsistent, where we conceded goals oftentimes in the first half, a season where the midfield never looked steady. Now it's the exact opposite. Our midfield now is probably the best it's been in many years. Our attack is just incredible. We're scoring just incredible numbers of goals. In the Premier League, we've got 66 goals compared to Arsenal 51, Man City 53, Chelsea 52, not even close. Goals against, we've conceded 26, which is only 3 more than Arsenal. And to be fair though, 26 goals conceded is not that bad. We have a brilliant record in the League Cup and in the Champions League as well, which further adds to the strength of how well Arne Slot has done. He has transformed players individually. Let's talk about Ryan Gravenberch, for instance. What an absolute brilliant player he is. His signature half turn, the pressing, the way he's always in the right place at the right time. He's able to apply pressure, interceptions and everything. And the way Arne Slot he redesigned Ryan Gravenberch. He redesigned Ryan Gravenberch to be this number 6, which he wasn't under Klopp. And this is purely an Arne Slot achievement here, by the way. To take a player who was a substitute player, B team, to then make him arguably the best defensive midfielder in the world. Then we talk about Cody Gakpo, who's now scored 16 goals. He's phenomenal. He's brilliant, scoring goals, going down the left wing, dribbling past players, linking up play, cutting on the inside, scoring goals. His finishing is elite. And again, another credit to Arne Slot, because Klopp actually used Gakpo more as a number 9. Now we see Gakpo in a completely different form. I mean, this guy is unstoppable. He's like, every time he goes to Anfield, he's like, I'm scoring goals. You can't stop the guy. He's actually brilliant. And the only reason why he's not getting the necessary credit is because Mohamed Salah is just on another level. And then the defense looks very sturdy. Konate and Van Dijk, no question, are the best centre partnership in the world. The way they're able to command the back line is phenomenal. The midfield looks watertight, brilliant, cohesive, pressing. It just all looks so well made. And credit to Arne Slot. Unfortunately, a lot of the media wants to paint it as Liverpool being lucky, Liverpool kind of being lucky how Arsenal and City drops off. But this is not true. The reality is Liverpool have been brilliant the entire season. Regardless of City or Arsenal, the performances have been amazing. And I think it's important to recognize brilliance and give credit where credit's due. And some people don't want to give this credit, some people do. I respect people like, for instance, Mark Goldbridge, who openly credit Liverpool for what we've done, who, obviously, we are rivals, but he respects what we've done, and I respect his opinion. So, credit to those who are giving us the respect we deserve. It's unfair to just say lucky Liverpool, because this makes no sense. And you can't even use the refereeing argument or the whole Liverpool nonsense, because if anything, we've probably had a referee slightly on the wrong side of us, because that Everton-Goodison Park game was a bit dodgy in terms of, Arne Slot getting sent off in the way he did. Then that goal by Tarkowski, to be fair, Beto did lean into Konate and push him out the way. That's kind of how the goal happened. Beto pushes Konate out the way, which obviously makes him miss the header. The ball goes over to Tarkowski and he scores. But I'm not going to get into refereeing controversies. We are 13 points clear. I don't really care if it was 13 or 15, to be fair. We've won. We've won anyways, but we can't say referees have blatantly supported us. They haven't. And neither can I say Arsenal have been robbed all the time. They haven't. They've had a few decisions go against them, but that happens all the time. Last season we had 3 major incidents. The Luis Diaz offside, the McAllister, the challenge of Dr. McAllister, and of course Odegaard playing basketball at Anfield against us was phenomenal as well. These 3 major incidents were turning point moments in the season, and we Liverpool fans kept on talking about VAR and refs, but people seem to ignore us and say these are just excuses. Well, when Arsenal get decisions against them, now it's, oh no, it's a refereeing conspiracy. That's why I hear on certain kind of media channels that apparently now the referees are against Arsenal. Well, that's very interesting. They were against us last season. No one says nothing. Now referees do something against Arsenal, and suddenly it's all conspiracy theories. The reality is that the referees are just not very competent in some sense, and that's just that. When you've got referees making mistakes, mistakes will go against you, mistakes will go for you. Fundamentally, the refereeing system does need improvement and fixing. I will not deny it does need improving, but that does not mean that Arsenal lost because of refs or because of injuries. They lost because they did not make the right signings. They did not sign a striker. Their manager isn't good enough. He's not really a winner. I've always said that they lacked a winning mentality. It always seems to me like they're way too, I don't know, they've just changed as a team. They've gone from being a more exciting attacking team a couple years ago to now being this defensive, rather strange side, dark horse, wasting time. I think for me, the most kind of defining moment of Arsenal this season was when they played us at the Emirates. They were up 2-1 in the first half. They were battering us. And then in the second half, he gets booked for time wasting on like the 66th minute. Then you got their players falling over with injuries and everything. And I'm like, come on, you are literally dominating us and you're meant to be beating us, making a statement. Instead, they decide to fall back, park the bus, and we managed to make it 2-2. Well, not surprisingly, you're wasting time at home against a team who you were just dominating in the first half. Why not carry on dominating if you were doing so well? But ultimately, I think credit Liverpool where it's due. And of course, fair play to Arsenal. They've handled adversities and their league position is quite good, given the fact that, yeah, they had obviously massive injuries. That is true. But I do also want to talk about Paris Saint-Germain. That game is crazy, right? As I said, let's talk about PSG, because PSG was incredible. This game was phenomenal. I can't describe the emotions I felt this game. Honestly, it was something just beyond description. You had to watch the game. It's one of those games where the highlights will never tell you the full story. You can try to look at the stats. You can try to look at what the stats say, but the stats can't tell you the story of the game. The reality is, yes, Alisson Becker made 9 saves. Paris Saint-Germain had 1.82 xG compared to us 0.27. They had 10 shots on target compared to us having 1. They had 8 shots off target compared to us having 1. They had 70% possession. We had 30%. They had 14 corner kicks. We only had 2. The first half was a battering. I honestly was not really sure what I was watching. Was I watching a championship team play Paris Saint-Germain or something? Because we were playing like crazy. We were just like sitting back, defending, not even pressing properly, losing the ball all the time, not being able to even string a few passes. It looked horrendous football, to be fair, but I kind of thought to myself that surely that's somehow part of the plan. I mean, I don't think the plan was to get battered in the first half. I don't think that was the plan. I think the plan was definitely to be more defensive and sit back, because the evidence for that is, why were we not pressing that much, right? We are a very competent team that can press. If the plan was to try to dominate PSG, we would have been pressing as well. I know PSG were pressing brilliantly and they were doing phenomenal. I will not take credit from them, but if we really wanted to also dominate the game, why were we not pressing? Why do you look at the first and second half and you just don't really see us press that much? Liverpool press a lot, by the way. There's a reason why we've done this for years. We are a pressing team. And this game, we clearly had a different game plan. I'm not trying to make up... To be fair, when I was watching the game, I tried to convince myself that this was all part of the plan to basically stay defensive, be terrible, and then Nunez comes on and does something. And to be fair, I was proven right. I just had this kind of feeling like Arne Slot would do something. And to be fair, you can't blame me. The manager has been so phenomenal. I always feel like he knows everything. I trust Arne Slot more than I trust myself. If he's doing something, if the team's doing something, surely there's a plan behind it. I think that's how I try to assure myself, because it's very hard to watch Liverpool and watch how terrible we were in the first half. Inexplicably terrible in every single footballing sense. And I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm sorry, even some of our defenders were being completely outdone. To be fair, phenomenal work by Konate, Van Dijk, Trent. There was some great defensive actions, but they should have scored. They should have scored. They had so many chances. They had so many chances. Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, other players. Just, I don't know how Alisson pulled this off. It's phenomenal. I have to look. Just well done, Alisson Becker. You are a legend. You are great, and you've just reminded everyone that you are the best keeper in the world. There were people who were doubting him. By the way, what on earth are we doing bringing in Mamadashvili? I do not understand that. Makes absolutely no sense. Alisson Becker is the best keeper in the world. I would easily keep him at Liverpool for quite a long time. I think he's brilliant, and keepers, he's only 33, and keepers are players who typically play for a longer time than other outfield players. So I don't think Alisson will drop off. And in terms of injuries, he's had some injuries earlier on, but he's been injury free since, and he's actually just proved who he is. He's the best goalkeeper in the world. I think that he's made a number of saves. Obviously, 9 saves is a lot. But what I will say, right, is it's not just about the 9 saves. It's about what kind of saves there are. In football, you sometimes see saves where you expect the keeper to make the save. Then you've got shots where you don't expect the keeper to make a save, but it's plausible. Alisson made at least 3 brilliant saves. Saves where it's like, this is probably a goal. I remember there was one moment, I forgot who it was, but it was a PSG player cutting on the inside, going from the far corner, and somehow Alisson just tips it over like for a corner. I'm like, wow, this guy was phenomenal. And you could see how much the goal meant to him when Harvey Elliott scored. He was celebrating Van Dijk. It was really a statement win. To be bullied like we were for 86 minutes and then win. This is crazy. It is sort of like a steal. It is very much a steal to play terrible football, and I'm not going to deny it. We played terribly, like, there's no denying it, plan or not. Even if the plan was to be more defensive, the plan was never to play like this. The plan was never to literally lose most, if not all of our one-on-ones in the midfield. Then the pressing machine just completely not working. Not sure if it was meant to not work or it just didn't work. I'm finding it hard to understand how much of it was PSG being brilliant and how much of it was Arne Slot's plan, because there were 2 factors at play. I'm not sure what percentage I would give to each. It's very hard to say. From one hand, I want to say that PSG were phenomenal, brilliant, which they were. On the other hand, I also see that we weren't really pressing, which, again, as I said, if we were trying to dominate, we would have been pressing more. Even if we played poorly, we would have at least tried to press, but we didn't even try to press. And it's not like these players are exhausted. They had a 1-week break. It's not like they're incompetent because they're phenomenal. We are the best team in Europe. The best team in Europe doesn't just accidentally play terrible football. I think there was a plan. The plan didn't really work. Alisson bailed us out, and then, look, honestly, when Darwin Núñez came on, I was like, this man's gonna save us. Seriously, we need this man more than ever. And Darwin Núñez, you've delivered on the occasion. He won that header, controlled it, waited for the perfect pass to Harvey Elliott. Perfect pass. Perfect timing. And Harvey Elliott, he's not been getting much game time. He gave the penalty away in the Plymouth game. Things haven't really gone his way this season. He's been injured. But Harvey Elliott, once again off the bench, makes an impact. He is a brilliant player. It was a great finish. And by the way, Darwin Núñez, man, you've been getting some stick, I know. A lot of people have been on to you, obviously, for missing chances, the Aston Villa game, then how Arne Slot basically publicly criticised him for his big attitude. But Darwin Núñez came on, was brilliant, he was ready to get in there. Jota just wasn't showing it. Jota lacked strength, he lacked desire to do something in the game, whereas Núñez came in, he was really at it. I mean, he almost took out Donnarumma. I was a bit concerned for Donnarumma. I thought Darwin had went in at him and just UFC kicked him, but luckily Donnarumma was fine. But that is what I call about Darwin Núñez, is that tenacity, that hunger, and that desire to just win the ball, get the ball at all costs. And then it's very not Núñez-like to be so patient with the way he waited with the ball waiting for Elliot to make that run and then score. And look, there's no denying it, but Elliot was phenomenal. He literally came on and scored a goal in 46 seconds. It's incredible. Impact sub, by the way, phenomenal. And the way that Salah had to come off and Elliot came on as well, which is even more kind of interesting. We literally had one attacker on at that moment in time. We had Darwin Nunez as a striker. We had Curtis Jones and Elliot coming off the bench. And then Diaz, Salah, and Jota all came off. So our entire front three, who were completely like just doing nothing the entire game, came off. And we only had Nunez as a proper striker. Gakpo was had a knock, he was a bit injured. But the way we're able to score that goal is phenomenal. It really is a defining moment in this Champions League campaign, just in general. It's a phenomenal game. And people will say, yeah, maybe we got a bit lucky. I know Kanate could have been sent off. It could have been, I agree, it was a bit of a push. It's definitely 50-50. I will not sit here and lie and say that it wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a penalty. I won't say it's not a penalty. It could have easily been a penalty. If it was a penalty, look, it was a push in the back. But equally, you could argue it wasn't strong enough. Some people say it's a red. Some people say it's not. It's one of those in the middle. And all I can say is we got lucky that we were on the right side of that 50-50. And fair play. Look, I'm glad that went our way. And overall, I think the game was interesting. Very interesting. Very unusual game. As a Liverpool fan, we're used to our team always pressing and dominating. But now we see this new Liverpool, a new pragmatic Liverpool who are able to play in such different ways. It's remarkable, isn't it? Against Newcastle, we have all the ball, all the chances. We battered them, we destroyed them, we just dismantled Newcastle on every single level. It was a completely different game. We had they had 0 shots on target and 0.21 XG. We had 61% possession. We absolutely bullied them that game, absolutely battered them. And then we go to Paris and then do a completely different footballing style, literally unrecognizable. And fair play, by the way, to Arne Slot. His adaptability is amazing. The way where he's able to change his team around to play different styles of football is amazing. And we've done what we wanted to. We went to Paris, we stole 3 points, and we're now going to Anfield with a very strong position to go to PSG, given their form, and to walk away with 3 points. I consider a massive victory. PSG are a very good side, and as long as we can keep a draw at Anfield, which I think we can definitely do, we're all set. And our defense looks quite solid. Overall, we dealt well with Dembele and Kvaratskhelia. We dealt well with them. There's no denying that. I think Trent had a very good game. He's been getting a lot of stick, but he was great as well. He was very good. So let's credit him defensively. Of course, you will get beat as a fullback sometimes, especially when you're playing against players like Dembele and Kvaratskhelia, who just love to dribble past you. But overall, the defense was very good. So I don't want to just say it was just Alisson. I do want to praise the defense. The defense was very good. Centre backs, right back, left back, let's give the credit there. Midfield and attack, I'm sorry, I can't really give much credit there. Endo was very good when he came on, made some tackles, put some pressure on. Elliot was brilliant. I thought Jones did alright. I think he kind of helped us control the game a little bit more. The second half was definitely better than the first. We had a better grip on the game. We were leaking less chances, and PSG were just growing frustrated. The first half, it's an interesting thing, by the way. First half, they had 5 shots on target. The second half, they also had 5 shots on target. But the difference is that in the first half, they had 1.42 XG. In the second half, 0.41. So some of those shots in the second half were more like just from a long distance, and they didn't really trouble Alisson. There were a few which were very dangerous, but the second half was definitely better, I think, for us. We were less battered, but we also scored a goal. And interestingly enough, the game changed after the goal. Those last few minutes of the game, we actually had the ball. We looked like Liverpool again for the last few minutes. So very interesting dynamic how we just switched on at the end and kept that 1-0 lead. So fantastic game, thrilling game of football. Was looking forward to talking about it just because of just how interesting the game was. It's just so interesting. You never really see Liverpool play like this and then steal 3 points in the fashion like we did. And all the commentators, Rio Ferdinand, I kept on hearing them. You know, they were literally just singing about PSG, PSG this, PSG that. And then we go and score the goal and just steal it. We absolutely ruined the party in that sense. Just, we won. We completely just like went against all expectation, against all common sense. We went and won the game. A game that we were surely supposed to lose, given how horrible we were in the first half. In the sense that we were bullied, and then we won. And then we won. Brilliant. Love to see it. Thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you soon. All the best. You will never walk alone.